What is the best large bushcraft survival knife in the market? Who knows, but I'm going to show you 4 of my favorites and why I love them so much. Stick around. So the question comes up a lot. What is a good survival knife to start with? And of course there's tons of opinions and tons of options these days. So what do you pick? Where do you start? Well, it's very difficult for sure, especially if you're new to this game. But if you are a collector of knives, of course you probably have several that you like and prefer. But recently I've been playing with more bigger knives as my kind of dedicated survival knife, whatever that means. And I wanted to show you 4 that are in my collection currently and that I feel are pretty decent options. But what I want to do is I want to do a little testing with these, kind of head to head, and see what they do, go over their specs, and just talk about them. By no means these are the best or the perfect. Knives, selecting knives is a very personal kind of process, and you need to pick what's best for you. But for me, I really enjoy a larger knife for a survival type utility, all-purpose knife, and that's what we have here today, and that's what we're going to talk about. What are the features that a survival knife has to have to make it survival? Well, I think the first thing is it needs to be full tang. That is a non-starter for me if it doesn't have a full tang. And you want it to be fairly beefy in the spine so it can take some abuse, because a survival knife, you have to remember, is going to be something that is very much jack of all trades, maybe not master of none, but it will be useful in doing a variety of chores and tasks when you're in the woods. And primarily you're going to want to use it for wood processing. Wood processing is of course an important component. Being able to start a fire, also being able to build shelters, things of that nature. So you want your knife to be rugged, be able to take the abuse, because the scenario is you're probably not going to be carrying an axe or multiple tools with you. This could be a scenario where you're just out on a day hike or something like that, or maybe you're not carrying a lot of tools with you. So the big knife is going to be a good substitute for an axe or a hatchet, and be able to do multiple things. Also be able to do some fire making skills, possibly cleaning game, or processing game of some sort. So the big knife fills that role pretty well. So the first blade we're going to look at is this. This is the Becker BK9. Now this one has some custom features added to it. This is not a stock BK9. The finish has been stripped. It has these custom scales added to it. Of course, I've got a braided lanyard on it. Also, the sheath is from a custom Kydex maker, along with a Leicester River Bushcraft knife pouch. So not stock, but the heart and soul of this knife is 1095 Crovon. It's a 9-inch blade, runs about 140 bucks, and it is a flat saber grind. So it is a very big knife, straight back with that drop point on it, and then we've got kind of a thumb ramp with jimping on it. Then we have the Ontario SP53 Bolo. It is kind of a machete knife hybrid, I guess you would call it. This has been stripped. This is the stock sheath that it comes with, so it's a very basic sheath. It's a nylon sheath with a plastic insert. But as you can tell with this knife, it has a very pronounced bolo swedge to it. Straight back. It has the rubber Tootsie Roll style handle that is on a lot of the Ontario survival knives. It is a 10-inch 5160 carbon steel blade, flat grind. It runs currently about 70 bucks. Unfortunately, I think Ontario has been sold, so I don't know if these are going to be being made anymore. So if you like this knife, you may want to go out and get one and do what you want with it, because it is a very heavy chopper compared to that BK9, and we'll see that here in a minute when we start messing with it. Next up is a very budget-friendly survival knife. This is from Camillus. This is the Carnivore Inject, and these are made overseas in China. It is found at Walmart, Amazon, places like that. Has a very nice Kydex sheath for such a budget knife, and these are running around $30 or $40. But this is very different than anything else we're going to look at because of the blade shape. So it is more of a pronounced Tanto style or Tanto style blade, and then we have these very aggressive sawbacks, and then a notch for cutting cord, but also is great for picking up a pot out of a fire. And then it has a contoured rubberized handle. And kind of the nifty thing about this one is it has a little hidden utility blade in the handle. So if you're on a budget, this may be a good option. It is a 12-inch blade, so it is the longest one we're going to be looking at, and it is a 420 stainless steel. They say it's titanium bonded. I'm not sure what that really means. It's just probably some type of coating that's applied, but I reviewed one of the older Carnivore X knives in the past, one of my older videos, and it was a surprising knife. I was blown away by how well it did in the woods, so we'll take a look at this one. And then I thought I'd throw into the mix something a little bit different. This is smaller than all the other knives, but I feel like that this is kind of a standard in survival knives and in the knife community. This is the ESEE 6. This one has also been stripped from its coating. And this is the basic slab handles that it comes with. It's a 6.5-inch knife, 1095 high carbon steel. ESEE knives have an excellent heat treatment. And it runs about $140 new. This is not the stock sheath. This is an upgraded sheath from Knife Connection with a leather backer dangler on it. But when you start talking about survival knives and outdoor knives, you have to have an ESEE. And unfortunately, I don't have a Junglist or the new Junglist 2. I don't have any of those. So, and I've used them, and I think I had a Junglist a long time ago, but I wish I had it back because that would have been probably more of a fair comparison to these other ones. But I feel like you have to show the ESEE 6. If you have it, show it, and because it is a fantastic all-purpose heavy-duty survival type knife, and it's worthy looking at for sure. And what I like to do is I like to have in my pocket always is some type of good, solid, utilitarian pocket knife. So, and it doesn't matter what you pick. You can be a Victorinox like this one. This one has a locking blade, also has a saw and some other tools. So it's a very versatile knife. I can use this for smaller tasks like feather sticking, cleaning small game, doing different small projects around camp. So always have some type of tool, and it doesn't matter. You pick what you want, what you're comfortable with. Some people like multi-tools. Some people like the Victorinoxes. Maybe it's just a really good lock back knife like a Buck 112 or something like that. So always have something to go along with your bigger knife. So one of the first tasks you're probably going to perform with a larger knife is probably some type of chopping, and you want to be able to do that efficiently. You don't want to be spending a lot of time chopping through something. So that's why the larger knife, the longer knife, and also a little bit of a heavier knife is more useful. So I'm not expelling a lot of energy to get that chopped. Even the smaller ESEE 6 can be capable. So now here we have something a little bit bigger. Getting a little bit of bounce on that bolo. Use this as means of driving. That's where that wide bolo really comes in handy, because now I've got a pretty decent hammer. So now we're getting into much larger, denser pieces of wood. Can a small knife do it? I don't know. Let's see. Not bad. It's it actually, the ESEE bit pretty well, but there's not much weight behind it, so it doesn't go as far, and it tends to bounce a little bit. Just keep rotating that wood. So one thing I love about this Leicester River Bushcraft pouch is that it slips on, and then you can actually screw it down right there on the edge, both sides, so it attaches to your sheath. So if you have a Kydex sheath, and it's a big sheath, this pouch fits perfectly. And what's awesome about it is you can carry a lot of gear inside of it, which, if you're really talking about a survival knife, to me, having a pouch of some sort on the sheath, it makes a lot of sense. That way you're not carrying a lot of extra stuff with you. It's all in one kit. So in here I've got a couple packs of MRE toilet paper. I have my brass match safe that has a good oil-filled compass. Let's see, there she goes. She's starting to work, and it's all has gaskets in it. This was from a company called K&M, and I don't even know if they're around anymore. I've had it for a while. It's a nice waterproof match container with the compass built in. And of course, a ferro rod. Gotta have a ferro rod, and this is a nice big beefy one. I think this is just one of the Amazon ones that you find. Nothing fancy. But we're going to test the knives on this as well and see how they strike, if they have that ability. And of course, just a Bic lighter. I need to modify this one and put a zip tie around it so it doesn't come open or doesn't release gas when I don't want it to. And then that pouch is big enough to hold a tin, so this is an Altoids tin. What I keep in here is just a couple extra items. We have a small survival fishing kit with some lures, line, a small bobber. Yep. And then in the bottom, I've got some tinder tabs. Those are from Black and White Fire Starter. You can find those guys on ESEE. There's some brass snare wire. There is a beeswax candle, and then an extra safety pin. So the other task that I foresee is splitting wood. And yes, you could just throw this in the fire. That's not the point. When you split wood, you're trying to get to the center of it, which is drier. So if this was a very wet condition out here right now, this wood was soaked on the outside, and I needed to get to the center to start doing feather sticks and doing a one stick fire. I would have to split this, and the thinner pieces are going to be more soaked, more wet, because they're smaller. This is going to have a dry center, so that is the task of splitting. Dry, very dry in the middle, very hard, pretty good seasoned wood. So a good heavy duty pommel, strong tip, so you can do things like this. No deformity in the tip whatsoever. There you go. Needs a little work. So that's a project right there. SD6 has no problem. So that is pretty good there. And I got this little knife, which may be a great. Oh yeah. That's like the best one yet, right? Pretty awesome. So some of the other tasks that you're going to be wanting to do with a survival knife, of course, is some type of notching, just general woodwork. So if you need to create a notch in the wood for a pot hook, you can do that. So you want to be able to do that. That's where the smaller knife comes in handy. Of course, green wood is something you're going to have to possibly work with. And this may be kind of hard to see, but here in Ohio, we have this multiflora rose, this very thorny, very invasive species of plant. It's very tough. It's everywhere. And when you're trying to make your way through the woods, you will get hung up on it. So the machete style knife is going to be definitely a plus, because then you can chop through that stuff if you have to clear a path, or if you're setting up a tarp. It is a rarity that I get out in the woods and I'm able to take a bunch of knives with me to test and play with it. So it's been a lot of fun just messing with these things. And it's brought a few things to light for me that I didn't know about these knives. A few of these are newer acquisitions. So I noticed that there's some work that needs to be done on a few of these. One of them in particular kind of underperformed, and that was the carnivore. It just didn't chop as well or as deep or bite as much as the others. I think the Bolo from Ontario is going to be fantastic. It just needs work on the edge. That edge it's a little iffy right now. And the Becker is a treat to work with. It has the length, the strength. Also, it's not overly heavy, so you don't feel a lot of fatigue in your hand when you're chopping with it. It bites pretty well, I think. Definitely going to touch up the edge a little bit more on it. So I think overall it's probably my favorite of the larger knives. And then of course you cannot go wrong with the ESEE. It is a workhorse. Of course it's smaller, you're not going to do a lot of the bigger chopping, so you really need to use this in conjunction with a saw. But even a good wire saw or a smaller hand saw like a Baco or a Silky with an ESEE is a great combination. And then pair that with your pocket knife and you have 3 tools that can do a lot of stuff, because the ESEE is just very well built. It has a very good edge, very good heat treat on it. Just stock, these knives are fantastic. And then with a little imagination, some elbow grease, you can do some pretty cool things with it, stripping the coating and doing some neat stuff with patina on it. You can of course change out the handles on these. There's some custom handles available, and custom handles available for the Becker. So 2 knives I would probably choose over and over again are these 2 right here. They are awesome. So hopefully just with this little bit of testing we did today, it gave you some ideas of what these big knives are supposed to do, or at least what I think they're supposed to do, and how to use them. Alright guys, thanks for watching the video. I'm going to get out of here. Please check out the social media links down below for Facebook group, Instagram. Check out my Amazon store if you feel like checking out some of these knives and the prices. And also check out preparedwanderer.com. That's the website. It is growing, trying to add articles that all the time. Has links to all the videos and articles, and also to the Big Cartel site that sells stickers, patches, and I just started selling Prepared Wanderer survival kits, mini survival tins. We'll be doing a review of that here shortly, so check that out on Big Cartel. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time on the Prepared Wanderer.